our first edition of our Pigment 101 webinar series for the 2023 season. And we're so happy that you've joined us, and we are exceptionally proud of the efforts that we are making in terms of sustainability at Sudarshan, and we are excited to be able to share these aspects with you today. We will be recording this webinar, so if you, all of those people who are joining us today will get the link to that recording for your future references. And if you have any questions throughout the talk today, please feel free to enter them into the chat box, and I'll address them at the end of the talk. However, if that's not your thing, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to get the information that you need. So, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and get started with the presentation. And I will also go off camera so I don't distract myself. So today we're talking about sustainability and at Sudarshan and how we are addressing that. So we'd like to, I found this statistic to be very interesting. By 2030, the global population will be about 8.6 billion people. Certainly the world has an infinite or a finite amount of resources. So that impact on those resources with the population growth is going to be quite significant. So we need to do all of our parts to make sure that we manage that impact for future generations. So what is sustainability? The UN Commission has established a definition that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sometimes this can be referred to as ESG, where the E is for environmental, the S is for social, and the G is for governance. This is a typical acronym that a lot of companies use. We do that as well. But the bottom line is still the same. Sustainability is a broad approach to reviewing all of the practices of both people and organizations to make sure that what we do today does not detriment anything for future generations to come. So with respect to the ESG, some additional information. When people think about sustainability, they think about the environment. So they're always talking about mentioning green or natural or bio-based types of products, recycling. That's the first word when they hear the word sustainability. That's what first comes to most folks' minds. However, there's more to it. So certainly societal aspects of it, the people in this world that we impact. So we always need to make sure that we are addressing all of our impacts to society and the culture in which we live. From a business perspective, it's how we as Sudarshan are impacting our stakeholders, both inside and outside the company. And of course, there's always some sort of governance that goes around with it. This might be also considered profit, and I'll get a little bit more into that detail later in the talk. But typically, this is seen as the oversight arm of the E and the S portions of sustainability programs. But the key is to have agreed upon metrics. And all those metrics are in the area of sustainability, and they are developed on a global basis, not just a local or regional basis, but as they impact the globe. So, because we are a major chemical producer, we do understand the importance of protecting um, and caring for our local and global environments. So, we do make a huge effort in all of our investments to make sure that they reflect that long-term commitment to sustainable growth. Our manufacturing facilities follow a very strict set of principles that guide our commitment to make sure that we are always keeping environmental stewardship in everything that we do. Some of these highlights include compliance. Of course, we comply with all of the applicable laws and regulations. And as we do go about our day-to-day activities, we are always looking for additional ways and ideas to eliminate waste through either source reduction or recycling programs. We minimize. So we continually work to make sure that we bring to our facilities safe technologies and facility designs and procedures that always work towards that reduction and recycling and minimization activities. Our facilities engineers and plant designers are always scouting the technology that's out there today, because we do know that technology changes and improves with time. So they're always looking to make sure that we have the most up-to-date technology in this area. Conservation obviously is a very big thing for us in our facilities, and we always strive to conserve energy and work to make sure that our manufacturing facilities are as efficient as they possibly can. Education, very important to be able to continue the path of um, making sure that we are on track for our global commitment to sustainability. So we conduct regular training sessions with every level in our company to make sure that they all understand what our policies and practices need to be, and they continue to be out in front. And of course, we always conduct audits to make sure that we are compliant, again, at every level of our organization. We are a firm believer of these principles of a circular economy, and we make sure that we are always continue to focus on the 4 Rs: reduce, reuse, recycle, and responsible disposal at every position of our company, as well as in every activity that we do. Of course, we develop the colorants, and we want to make sure that these colorants assist all of you customers to make sure that you can also minimize the amount of material that you need for your application or the service life for your application. Because ultimately, we want to make sure that you also can reduce your waste and maximize your efficiency with using our products. So it's a two-way street. So we are proud to have aligned ourselves with the United Nations Sustainable Development Program. This was initiated in 2015, where world leaders agreed to implement the 17 sustainable goals with the intention of having that in place for 2030. So implementation did start in 2016. All of these areas are slated to improve climate change, reduce inequalities, and end poverty. So much more than just that green recycling, bio type-based raw materials. It's the whole of the globe that we are focusing on. So Sudarshan as an organization is definitely committed to, and we've established all of the frameworks to foster the progress of these goals. And I'd like to be able to share with you what Sudarshan is doing with some examples. So there's 17 goals, and in reality, they're all interconnected. Achieving one goal is not sufficient to be able to do your part as part of the global economy and global environment. So it's a transformational aspect to be able to see that fundamental change on the planet in which we live. So it's not something that's going to flip a switch and you're there. It's actions that take time to develop, to implement, and then also ultimately to see the impact of those particular programs. So the 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Program include addressing poverty, hunger, health, education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth. Internally, taking a look at the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, and then take a look at having sustainable cities and communities in which we live, responsible consumption and production, of course, climate action, and taking a look at life below and above the on the land, and then making sure that we participate in peace, justice, and have strong institutions. And then finally, but certainly not the smallest one, is making sure that we have partnerships for these goals. One person, one company, one region can't do it alone. We need to partner up with everybody along the value chain to be able to get to these end goals. So for each one of these, I have put together some examples that Sudarshan is doing. So just to give you some highlights of how we see our part in the sustainable goals. So the first one, which is addressing poverty. So some of you may have been to India or from India, or have a vision of India, but the truth be told is there are a number of very rural areas in India that do have challenges with respect to poverty. So one of the programs that we've worked together with our other community leaders is in the area of developing skills for the young adults in those communities. So with collaboration with a number of different construction firms, these young adults have been trained in this and their skills developed, so that as they completed the program, they were certified, and then they can receive placement within these construction firms to be able to make a decent wage and to be able to support themselves, their families, and their communities. Addressing hunger, we have a couple of projects and programs that we are involved in that basically are working with our communities in which our locations are in. So we've adopted about a 25-kilometer radius around each of our facilities, which we work directly with those communities in a lot of different areas. One of those areas is the Kitchen Garden Project, where we help to promote healthy eating by establishing some backyard gardens for the communities. We've done this for a number of households around our Roja area, which is our largest production facility. In addition to the backyard gardens, we've also worked to distribute utensils to these same types of villages so that they can both grow their own food as well as harvest them and prepare them properly for addressing some of that hunger and ensuring some healthy eating. Health, of course, is another area that we are very adamant to support. One of the big issues with the rural communities is anemia in women. This is a concern that we have, that we wanted to make sure that we helped to create the importance of health, hygiene, and nutrition in these communities and villages. To do that, we've taken our and partner up with some clinics to establish these wellness clinics, provide necessary medications and other medical follow-ups that's required, all in an effort to upgrade the health of the women in the villages. One that we are very, very proud of as an organization is our effort in improving the education. In 1976, the founders of Sudarshan established a school and junior college, again with that lifelong commitment to improve the education in that particular district. The goals were to ensure a quality education of their employees' children, um, also to increase the level of education in the local communities overall. And then finally, we wanted to ensure and empower all of the children to fulfill their duty to themselves, their fellow men in communities, and also to their country as well. To date, the student population is about 1,700 students. About 60% of those are the Sudarshan employees that are in that particular region, and then the remaining slots are open to the residents of the Greater Roha area. So we're extremely proud of this in this endeavor. Following up, making sure that not only do they have a good education and access to education, but while they're there, we want to make sure that they have clean water and good sanitation for them. So we've worked up with a water project to provide water filters to 17 schools in the area, to ensure that they have clean water to drink throughout the day. In these very rural villages and communities, waterborne diseases are ever present. And so we want to make sure that we provide every effort to help eradicate those diseases. Of course, affordable and clean energy. Like other companies, we've invested a lot of dollars in solar and wind energy in order to help reduce our carbon footprint. We've have 4.2 megawatts of windmills currently, and 6.5 megawatts of solar. And both of these are in an effort to reduce our CO2 levels, as well as reducing the amount of fossil fuels that's required for our organization. And we continue to increase the amount of clean energy that we are generating and using in our facilities. Our long-term investment plan has dollars associated to increase these each and every year. Ensuring work and economic growth. Again, the women are key in a lot of our activities, where we wanted to make sure that we help to develop a sense of independence and confidence in the more rural parts of India. So we worked with them to help train them in sort of small business activities, where we've also helped to organize some tables in different locations so that they can establish their little business there to sell the materials and train and items that they've created. Certainly, earning a profit is key there. It helps elevate the women's status in their in their communities, as well as to be able to support their families. Internally, we are always continuing to make sure our infrastructure is up to date and has all the technology advances that are available to us. And we are very proud that all of our employees continue to be trained so that they operate and maintain our facilities in the most environmentally responsive and safe manner that we can. And we're always looking to continuously improve by continuing to identify and minimizing any kind of risk to the employees and their surroundings, continuing to improve our performance in the SHE area, and as well as complying with all the regulations. As I mentioned earlier, all of our processes and plant operations are designed to minimize risk and waste. As we continue to expand our facilities with new plants and expansions, all of our designers are always looking to get the most amount of the newest technology available to continue that design. Enhancing the skill and competence of our employees through a lot of training in there. And of course, communicating all of our policies to the employees as well as outside contractors and vendors that come on site to make sure that they are fully aware of what our expectations are. Reducing inequalities. We are very, very proud of a lot of our activities with the children and the women in our communities, and just a couple of more examples of where we are partnering up with different organizations to enhance the accessibility and quality of education. We've reached out to over 100 villages, primarily to continue that enhanced child development, health, and vocational education for some of the older youth as well as young adults. And then we've seen a lot of positive change in the behavior and attitude of children over the years as we've participated in these activities. So, as I mentioned, we've worked with over 1,500 children in a number of different schools in and around the Rohal area where our largest plant is. We couldn't be more proud, though. Internally, we have one of our newest chemistries and production facilities is our Pigment Yellow 138 plant. We are extremely proud to state that this plant is 100% managed and operated by women. So you can see here some of the women that run that plant, some in process pictures as well. So all in all, to the ladies of the Pigment Yellow 138 plant, Sudarshan as a whole celebrates you, and all of our organization celebrates this fact that this plant is managed and run by women. And so we couldn't be prouder of that fact. As I mentioned, we do a lot of work with our communities in which our plants are located. I did mention that we adopt about a 25-kilometer radius around each of our facilities. We have two production plants, one in Roha, which is our largest one, and one in Mahad. Our headquarters is in Pune, and our R&D facility is in Sudarshan. So in each of those areas, we adopt the local surrounding communities so that they can benefit from these programs. So, in collaboration with Bata, we've worked to distribute shoes to a number of villages in the area because we want to make sure that the children of these villages and communities have what they need to to survive and to better themselves. As far as responsible consumption and production, the other area where we are exceptionally proud is in the area of sustainable mica sourcing. So India is definitely the world's largest producer of mica, which accounts for about 60% of all of the mica that's used um, in the world. Sudarshan ourselves, we source from two states. These states are very rich in mineral resources, but they are economically challenged. In the past years, this has given rise to instances of unregulated mining in the region, and then that led to some child labor issues in the past 20 or so years in there. Sudarshan definitely has a zero tolerance again towards child labor, and we require all of our vendors and partners to adhere to this policy as well. And to make sure that we minimize our risk in our supply chain, as well as to continue to fight the child labor issues, we developed a 6-step action plan, which includes clear vendor requirements, only sourcing from certified mines, and implementing a mica tracking system all the way from the mine to the loading dock at Sudarshan to make sure that in every step um, of that travel of the mica, it adheres to all of the action plans and requirements that we have. And then, in additionally, we have independent audits by a third party that do unannounced and unscheduled audits of the mines and the supply chain along the way. So climate action takes on a number of different thoughts and definitions along the way. I have two examples for you today here for this area. The first area is what we call green Sudarshan. We are lucky enough that one of our family members from the Rossi family is a horticulturist, and so she has initiated a green program at our sites. The site that you're seeing these pictures from is our Roja production facility, and so not only do we invest in that green surroundings, which are healthy, but also they're very pleasing to the eye to work in. The interesting thing to note, all of these plants and trees are all tagged, and so they continue to be monitored for their growth and any other areas that might come to be to make sure that our impact of production does not negatively impact the growth. The other area is our cogeneration facility. So we do part of our commitment towards the environment is to make sure that we have uninterrupted power supply. So we've built a steam and power cogeneration plant, primarily so that we can have an impact on the minimization of CO2 emissions, because we don't first of all, we don't need to purchase the power from the outside, but also we have the control to make sure that we are the most efficient that we can be in generating this power. Of course, we have uninterrupted power supply, so that results in process consistency and quality of products. As we continue to get newer and newer technology, We include those technology improvements in this cogen plant to make sure that we continue to use less fuel consumption in this facility, but still maintain the power requirements we need to produce our products. Life below water. One of the shining stars of our facilities is our effluent treatment. We've been recognized with our state of the art as being the most stringent through the region, as well as the as well as typical production facilities. Um, all in reality, our effluent quality is clean enough that we could dispose of the excess water to the ocean. However, we're not close to an ocean, but it's always nice to know that our cleanliness is so stringent that we could discharge directly to the ocean. So we obviously recycle all the water that we need through this process, and excess water we provide to our neighboring production facilities for their use. On land, life on land, as I mentioned, we've adopted a 25 kilometer um, radius around our plant. So we work with the local farming communities around those to make sure and certify and teach and certify them about organic farming, because we don't want to continue to contaminate, for lack of a better word, the land with chemicals and fertilizers. So we've certified over 150 farmers in the areas of across 10 villages to be able to farm in a organic way. Strong institutions is another area, and this also comes back to our mica sourcing. We are part of a collaborative that is making sure that that is called the Responsible Mica Initiative. So this is where mica mines, NGOs, suppliers, governments, and mica buyers like ourselves came together to make sure that we committed to a strategy that also meets the local needs in here. So there's 4 key areas of this initiative to make sure that there is fair and sustainable mica collection, processing, and sourcing. Improving the traceability all along the entire mica supply chain. So I talked about that in a previous slide. But most importantly, we need to make sure that we empower the local communities to make sure that the change that we're making is long lasting. Because if the local communities don't buy in, it's not going to last. And of course, working together to make sure that all of the authorities in Indian government is also on board in there. So earlier, I talked about Sudarshan and what we are doing as well. So we are part of this initiative, and we are very proud of that. We have those contractual requirements with all of our suppliers. And then I talked about the independent auditor. And so when those audits happen, we get that information as well as the initiative and governments to make sure that everything is as it should be and as it was designed. So sustainable development is also considered corporate sustainability, because if you don't have a sustainable company, then you're not sustainable. So I mentioned that a good definition is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And that's a very simple way of saying what we do today impacts the future. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but it's always good to keep reminding ourselves that what we do today impacts the future. So because we're all interconnected in a lot of different ways, all of our decisions are far-reaching. They go across geographies as well as timelines. So we need to understand the because of the size and the influence of business, we have a significant role to play to be able to meet all of those goals. Um, but the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit, tech makes us reinvent some of our business models so that we can, of course, remain profitable, but yet contribute to that sustainable development. At Sudarshan, we always like to bring sustainability to the forefront of both internally as well as externally. And on occasion, we do this in different ways. And one way is developing colors that help us to remember what we're trying to do with respect to the 17 goals. So we put together this color in a plastics application called Harvest Sunshine, where we went and took a look at this represents 4 of the 17 goals that we are working towards. So we're using affordable and clean energy in a lot of our production facilities. In some of the reaction kettles are using clean energy versus fossil fuels. Our infrastructure, as I spoke, we have the highest technology that we can to be able to minimize risk to people as well as minimize waste. I mentioned about the micas and our responsible consumption of mica and the mica initiative. And then, of course, life below water, creating pigments generates a lot of wastewater. And so I spoke about the effluent treatment that we have that allows us to maintain that production, but yet still result in a high quality effluent. So Sudarshan value chain, that it doesn't stop at just Sudarshan. We look to actively partner with our customers and be able to also influence downstream in the value chain, all the way from Sudarshan to the very end customer that picks a product up off the shelf or buys a product up out of the car lot. So it starts in India, where we internally make sure that we are sourcing appropriate raw materials, backwards integrating where we can, recycling, of course, plant processes, people, and renewable energy. Spoke about all of those in previous slides. Once it's done in our production facilities, we put it on a truck to go to on a ship to come to the U.S. Off the ship, it gets onto the rail containers. These can be mixed containers. We could also do some direct deliveries to help continue to minimize the amount of transportation. Again, back on a truck and into our warehouse in Chicago, where the products then are picked for delivery. So there's a lot of different areas where we can lessen the impact of transportation with our customers. So we're always looking to partner with each of you to come up with creative ways to minimize the amount of effort of physical product makes in the entire value chain, from our doors in India to your doors wherever that is. So why do we focus on sustainability? Of course, it's the right thing to do. As I mentioned, though, that these aren't like light switches, more like dimmers. So it takes steady progress using all of the new ideas and technologies that are coming along our way. Ultimately, regulations will force you to do this, but it's also part of your profitability and our profitability, of course. If your business isn't profitable, it's not sustainable. The broader approach to sustainable practices has a bigger impact to everybody's bottom line. However, just like any kind of innovation, there's a lot of things happening in the early phases, a lot of moving parts, and that can be pretty daunting. It's that continuation of uh, coming, keeping it in front of you that will give you that long-term reward. And of course, if done right, sustainability can lead to higher profits. Because sustainable products do have a built-in value adding system. Um, I already mentioned about warehousing and logistics, improving the overall expense to serve in there. So many ideas there that can help in those areas. Of course, there's always going to be customer interest. So customers who utilize sustainable benefits will also get will win in the end. They will also gain additional user loyalty. And then, of course, regularly, I mentioned at some point in time, the regulations will kick in, and the bottom performers will be cut off. So thinking ahead of regulations will always benefit you at the bottom line as well. So you can learn more about what we've talked about today here on our website under the ESG tab. There's more details and more information about what we're doing at Sudarshan. So our team, a North America team here is here to help you. If if you have any questions or need any additional information, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. So next up, in February, we are going to talk about yellow. We're going to look at some inorganic solvent dyes and mica effect pigments in that yellow color space and what it means into your applications. That'll be held on February 28th, the last Tuesday of the month, of course. And so take a look for that invitation to come out about a week ahead of time. We'll continue that theme with orange and red in March, and then we'll continue down the road with our products in future webinars. So I'd really like to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us today. Obviously the topic isn't as technical as others that we've done, but we are very proud of our activities here at Sudarshan with respect to the sustainable goals. And we wanted to be able to share that with you. So at this point in time, I'd like to open it up to any questions that you might have. And so if you do have any questions, feel free to just enter them into the chat box there. And if that's not your thing, please get a hold of me and we will get you what you need.